Hello everyone, welcome to a Sunday Million highlight show from the 10th of March. 8,755 runners, a huge field generating a $1.7 million prize pool for the most exciting weekly tournament on the planet. The Sunday Million still going strong, bigger than ever, and straight into the action with hand number 2, 9 players for your pleasure, 250,000, 500,000 blinds. And we're right into it. AexcaliburA with Ace-King offsuit. Excalibur B was a bread knife, which was drawn out of a rock after AexcaliburA and had no consequence whatsoever. So he's just differentiating there, to be clear. He was the main one. Big raise, isn't it, by modern standards? All hail the 3X. Just got the job done so far, if getting everyone to fold with one of the strongest hands in Hold'em was the job. Mission accomplished. It's a bit of a cooler though, isn't it? You'll be way ahead of me. You'll have spied Poker Joe in the big blind with the unlucky Ace-Queen. Unlucky so far anyway. Only a smidge over 10 big blinds. Has to do the decent thing. Classic standard strategy. Put it all in except for 432,000. Excalibur's having a think, but not too much to think about here. They're going to get the money in. And Poker Joe from Vienna, Austria is going to be in trouble on just the second hand of this final table. Nothing he can do about it. With that stack and that hand, well, he can catch a jack now as Excalibur makes top pair. Still allowed to catch a jack. And that's not a jack. This one's over, and we lose our first player on just the second hand of the final table. Excalibur taking a nice one down. Poker Joe leaving us with $13,500 and leaving those 8 players competing for the Sunday Million title and a boatload of cash. Big move up the leaderboard from bottom place to third place by Liran from Israel over the next few hands. And a really interesting mix of nationalities as well at this final table. It's global. It's pan-global. No one from the UK. Other than that, excellent representation. 300,000, 600,000. Hand number 15. And zrqking is all in with the 9s. Pretty standard shove, isn't it? Less than 10 big blinds. Lucky to find a hand that big. And he's going to get folds all the way around to the big blind, where SteenD from Denmark has the Ace-Queen and the pretty standard call. This one almost played itself. Not literally, but almost. We'll have a race for the money and for zrq's tournament life. Nice flop for the 9s. Neither player with a spade in their hand. So the 9's still big favourite here, and the 3 confirms the double up. Exactly what zrq needed. He's up to just under 10 million and 4th spot at this final table. Still the same blind level. Caucus from Honduras under the gun. Just hearing that in Honduras that's actually pronounced caucus, so that's what we'll go with. 1.2 million to open the action. zrq with the flat call. With the 5s, not too sure about this flat call. Not very deep, is he, to be making a call like that? He is going to have position, it looks like, unless someone wants to do something creative. So that makes up for it a little bit. We'll see what happens. SteenD folds the Queen 10 out of position. And Johnny Boy also gets out of the way. So 10s versus 5s. With our chip leader in command, but not anymore. That's why you flat call with the 5s. I suck at poker. I either don't do that or I don't get a 5. I'll never work it out. zrq then, with the super lucky flop. What dreams are made of, file this one under. Not only does he hit his set, but his opponent has the overpair and will probably gladly put a lot more chips in the pot here. zrq doesn't mess around, puts the money in, and Kokus has to call here. I mean, he's got such a big hand on this flop. But he's almost drawing dead. A couple of backdoor draws and a 10 to hit. Just a 10 now can turn this round. No bad beat for ZrQ. Bad beat on the flop for Kokus. And these two will flip chip stacks. ZrQ, all in a couple of hands ago, is now your chip leader. That's just how we roll at the million final table. Big blinds, big all-ins. But after all of that, we are still 8-handed for the money. That player, SvZff, SvZff, it's not commentator friendly. That's Steven van Zadelhoff, who's a very well-known Dutch player, playing out of Malta at the moment. And he finished runner-up in a Scoop High event and has a couple of really big cashes on stars. So probably the most experienced tournament player at this final table. Haven't seen him in action yet, but we are seeing SteenD and Johnny Boy in action. SteenD shoving a very short stack from the big blind and an automatic play from Johnny Boy to get it in. Pretty close, this one. It's a race of sorts. It's a race for SteenD's tournament life. No help for him on the flop. Not too much help there either. So one card to save him, and the ace is not going to get it done. Ace and sixes for Johnny Boy confirm the elimination of SteenD from Denmark. $19,200 for him. Now, we'd love you to have a free shot the Sunday Million on us because we're that nice. Details of the tournament free roll coming up later in the show.
Competition everywhere. We are poker.
Welcome back to the Sunday Million final table. 7 players left contesting this really big million. They're always big, but this one is a very large field. The players have done amazingly well to get here, and they'll want to take it all the way and land that first prize. Liran always makes a move when we have a leaderboard up. He should just play the hands where the leaderboard's up. Tough for him to do, of course. He's up into second place. zrqking, we've seen his 2 big hands. He leads the way, the Polish player, over the 25 million chip mark. 26 million and change, but he's not getting involved here. We're still watching 300,000, 600,000. And action is going to fold around. Van Zadelhoff might have thought about that suited ace with a little bit over 10 big blinds, but decides not to play. Bad Guitaro will open with A7 offsuit, and Johnny Boy gets to shove the ace-king, so a nice spot for him. Bad Guitaro has got himself into a bit of trouble here. It was a big open out of a short stack, and yeah, he does feel like he's committed. Maybe should have been all in at first. Wouldn't have made too much difference, would it? Johnny Boy was still going to put the money in, and Guitaro in trouble here, but not so much anymore. Can he wriggle free of the noose? A 7 on the flop is a huge help to him. Bad luck for Johnny Boy so far. Only a king can turn it round. And Bad Guitaro gets lucky. 12.5 million in his stack now. Johnny Boy crippled by that one. That's when it's really tough at these final tables. You don't mind losing a flip, but there's so much at stake with these big all-in pots. Losing one like that really does sting. The money jumps in this tournament and at this final table are huge as ever. Not great for Johnny Boy. The Estonian player finds himself short stack now and puts the money in with Jack 10 suited. It's not a huge stack, is it, anymore? Under 4 million. And either of the blinds might call it. Excalibur decides to fold the suited ace. A little bit surprising. zrq, though, with the king-queen and the chip lead and the easy call, has Johnny Boy in trouble here. The damage was done to Johnny Boy by that previous hand. Can he get back in things? Needs a little bit of help from the deck. And I don't think that qualifies. A king now will win him this one. A 10 is no good. ZrQ with the pair of queens is in front. And the jack gives Johnny Boy 2 pair, which is no help whatsoever. ZrQ king makes the straight. Broadway brings home that pot for him. The chip leader extends his lead. And Johnny Boy hits the rail. The Estonian cashing for $35,000 in the million. Reminding you that all of these players have only paid $215 as a buy-in. A lot of them much less by qualifying through the satellite route. Extraordinary return if you happen to play well, get a bit lucky and go deep in this tournament, isn't it? 6 players left, bit of 6 max action for you in the million. 400,000, 800,000. And 6 max may not last too long. Steven van Zadelhoff has shoved here. And Liran with the decision. And a pocket pair in the blinds. Well, you'd expect a call, a little bit of thought, and then Liran does put the money in. 30 million in the middle. SvZff playing for his tournament life, flipping for his tournament life. No help so far. Needs to catch. Well, he could counterfeit Liran, but the king of spades is not going to do that. The 4s hold up. Important pot for Liran. Crucial pot for Steven van Zadelhoff, the Dutch player, unfortunately going home on that one. Great run, 6th place and $52,000 for him. On we go, 5-handed, and I can tell you that these 5 players would make a deal. It happens a lot in the million, and you can understand why, having paid a small amount to get into this position. The money jumps are so big. The players want to minimise the variance a little bit. I'll confirm their payouts as they leave. Still playing for a chunk of change for first and the million title. And Excalibur looking for these 8s to hold up in order to have a shot at that title. All fine through the flop, but the turn is a killer. You can catch an 8 or a 6 on the river. There's a 6. Well, the 8s were the best hand going in, and they just came out dramatically, but they're still the best hand at the end. Excalibur knocks off Cocos in that one, and those two pretty close in chips. The 2 big chip leaders right now, ZrQ and Liran, as we play 5-handed. Players from Malaysia, Israel, Poland, Honduras, and the Netherlands Antilles in your final 5. Always the same, isn't it, every week? Amazing spread of nationalities. Liran raises from the small blind, and Bad Kataro will call. Not sure about that. Not sure what his plan is here. Just doesn't have too much room to work with this short stack. He's flopped a little bit of nothing as well, hasn't he? Backdoor spade draw. He's got a pair draw. Can also catch a 10. It's not great. Liran in front with second pair. And decides to check. Interesting check. Kind of like it if he's never going to fold. Because he can get his opponent to bluff at this, but Bad Kataro is not taking the bait. Liran now with trips. If there was any doubt about who was in front, that third jack will remove it. He's still going to check. Consistent with this plan, trying to make it look like he raised just to steal, or he raised with an ace high or something. And he does get his opponent to bite. And now Liran will put the money in. Interesting, he decided to check raise there. Could have perhaps called and tried to win the rest of the money on the river, but put the money in and can't criticise him too much. He's won that one, and he is the chip leader now. Bad Cartero, after that bluff, really on life support. 2 million chips, looking at 2.5 big blinds. And as a professional tournament analyst, I can tell you that that is not a lot of big blinds. Seen people come back from this, though. It has happened in the Sunday Million and in a lot of other big tournaments. But it does take a little bit of doing. Excalibur on the button will make a min raise here. He has an ace. He has the button. What's not to like? ZrQ King, our chip leader, with something a little bit nicer than that. Pocket 9s, and he does make the 3-bet. Liran will fold, and Excalibur will have the decision. Decides to flat call. Seeing a lot of flat calling pre-flop at this final table. Not sure I like it. But then I'm not sure the players care whether I like it. So it all evens itself out, doesn't it? zrqking decides to check. Not sure I like that either. And Excalibur sees an open door and knows to walk through it. zrqking will fold the best hand. Well, that hand was awful all round. But I'm sure they still don't care. Banking huge amounts of money for finishing the top 5 of the Sunday Million. Excalibur at least knew when he saw weakness as an opponent to pounce. And he's the beneficiary there. But not really sure where zrq didn't put out a little bet on that flop. Bad Cartero has managed to double up once in the intervening hand. And as we join his quest to win the Sunday Million from 2.5 big blinds, he sits on a bit under 5 million. And that's in the middle here with A7. And he's found a good spot to get it in. You'd have thought Liran would call, which he does. And A7 is better than King Queen, but he does need it to hold up. Could this be the start of an amazing adventure? Well, that's a nice flop as well. Ace of diamonds in his hand covers the diamonds. And that is a nut flush. Very nice. Liran loses this one. Bad Cartero on the comeback trail. Still the short stack, but looking a lot healthier than he was a few minutes ago. Hand 63, and we're playing 400,000, 800,000. Excalibur will open the King 10. And the 2 players behind him will fold. And Bad Cartero will make a shove. So I don't think this is a completely straightforward decision for Excalibur. He's got, oh, what is that? Something like 12.5, 13 big blinds to call. And it is a lot of his stat, but he does make the call. And he gets in behind, but it's close. Big pot this for both of them. It looks like it might go Excalibur's way. He's the one that gets lucky on the flop. King is going to bring this home for him unless Cartero catches an ace on the river. Doesn't happen. So the 2.5 big blinds to victory plan is derailed, and Bad Cartero has to settle for 5th spot. The player from the Netherlands Antilles takes home $106,549, making him the all-time money leader from the Netherlands Antilles. I'll be honest, I took a punt on that one. I have not researched that fact. I might have to go to the Netherlands Antilles and personally research it. Probably over a pina colada. This is weird. Hand 66. Excalibur has 6-6. And, spoiler alert, the flop comes 6-6 deuce. Maybe. Let's find out. Caucus is all in. The Honduran has his money in the middle with the ace. Excalibur snaps it off with the 6s. And the 6s, a nice favourite here. Another big pot in the lives of both these poker players and in the terms of their financial destiny. Fun flop as well for you. Caucus makes a pair and catches a gut shot. Can also hit an ace as well as the deuce. Excalibur still ahead though. And the 9 of hearts is a safe card. So he fades the river and is now your chip leader. Caucus from Honduras takes home $139,000 in change. And he was 4th. Great stuff. 3-handed now for the big money and the title. Reasonably even stacked. Excalibur does have the chip lead and has pocket 6s again. By the way, Liran's going to stay active here and try and steal the blinds, but Excalibur more than enough to call with. And that's a pretty decent flop for a pair of 6s. Liran decides to check. Slightly surprising maybe, having not flopped too much. Excalibur will go ahead and bet those 6s. And Liran with the check raise. Well, you got to think this was a bit premeditated. Don't think it'll work because it's a good flop for a 6s, and I'm not sure what Liran's representing though. It does get through. Well, the value of aggression, we see it time and again at these final stages, Is that what's going to get Liran home as champion?
We are 10,000 people in Brazil, holding our breath. We are alone. Hunters. Hunted. We are committed. Blessed. Calm. We are all in. We are poker.
Welcome back. You're watching the Sunday Million Final Table, and here's the online poker show free roll info. The password is Colombia. 14th, don't know what that was. 14th of March 2013 is when it happened. 3:35 Eastern Standard Time. I am available for voice work, just not with accents. Excalibur, zrqking, and Liran all chasing the glory of a Sunday Million win and a chunk of change up top after the deal. Liran would take the chip lead for the first time in this final table over the next few hands. But they're all still very even as we play the $500,000 $1 million blind level. And zrqking 3 betting here. Interesting stack sizes. A lot of pretty odd decisions to make around about the 25 to 30 big blind level. We've seen this before, haven't we? Remember, with zrqking had the 9s and Excalibur defended with the unsuited ace on the button. This time, zrqking's going to bet the flop that he's missed, and Excalibur will fold. So a little bit of a difference, and every pot matters right now, doesn't it? Just a bet on the flop doesn't seem too significant, but it gave zrqking the chip lead. That was just temporary. Liran would take it off him over the next few hands, and as we watch hand 98, it's Liran 2788, Israeli player, who has the chip lead here, just under 40 million. And he'll call in the big blind. A couple of suited connected hands for our two players. Not too much help for either of them on the flop. zrqking has the Broadway cards and makes the bet. Now, Liran, of all these players, has shown the ability to be the most creative, and he's really going to open out his game here, floating on this pretty scary-looking flop. And that could be a nice card for him, because zrqking, yeah, he does check. Now, when you call on the flop with 8-7 and the flop's ace-queen 5, you're not doing it because you think you've got the best hand. You're doing it to do this, try and take the pot away. And Liran really stomping down on these players now, starting to look like he's the one that's got the aggression to win this final table. That's the way it would go over the next few hands. Liran up to over 50 million now. Excalibur and zrqking getting a little bit short stacked. Excalibur, well, makes a big opening raise. Perhaps doesn't want to get played back at. Don't know about this flat call from Liran. Not sure that's great. A little bit of positive tilt going on here, I think. That is a personal trademark of mine. It's when you're winning and you get overly excited and you think you can win everything. Usually results in you buying about 100 lottery tickets after the session. Well, maybe he can win everything. A check back from Excalibur and the turned flush draw for Liran. He does check again, though. Well, he might be tempted into a bet there. Excalibur now betting. And Liran just calls. So this is a slightly odd hand. 12 million in the middle. It's a really important pot for Excalibur to win. And he does have the best hand. Liran misses his flush draw. He's been known to like a bluff. There's one. It's not a huge bet. Can Excalibur call this? He can't. Well, Liran's stealing this tournament from the other two, isn't he? a really good demonstration of why aggression is the most important quality in a no-limit hold'em player. Liran has battled these two and almost battled them into submission. And look at this cooler in hand, 113. Did someone ask for a setup? This is about as final as it gets. Excalibur puts his money in, zrqking puts his money in, and Liran is pinching himself to make sure this is a real game and he's not dreaming it. The final table of the Sunday Million, 2 short stacks in front of you, and they want to go all in when you've got pocket queens. Can we have a double elimination to end the tournament? It's a rare bird, but it could happen right now. 58% of the time, this tournament is over. Excalibur and zrqking drawing thin here, especially zrqking. It's not that simple. zrqking was always going to win this pot. What are you talking about? Oh, Excalibur has the flush redraw. Any spade will do. It's a spade. My word. Ridiculous, ridiculous hand. And how did Liran finish third? One board run out away from winning it, and he has to do it all again. zrqking crippled by that pot and just shrapnel left after posting the big blind. And Excalibur, the lucky man, with that beautiful spade flush draw. Amazing stuff. zrqking, you got to feel sorry for him. Teased by that flop. Thought he was going to get back into this. But it's going to be tough from here with one big blind and the nut low. This is the definition of depression at the poker table, isn't it? Excalibur has kings in this hand, by the way. So it'd be interesting to see if there's any betting on the side here. zrqking flops a flush draw. But he'll need to win this pot and then an awful lot more. Excalibur doesn't want to contest this pot, so he's going to bet. Liran will get out the way. And zrqking praying for a club to continue this adventure. 6 of hearts is no help. And the 7 of diamonds confirms that zrqking from Poland will have to be content with third. But he would actually win the most money in this tournament. He was the chip leader when the deal was made. $170,000 for his efforts. And, well, he got to take part in an absolutely ridiculous hand. But he doesn't get to take part in the heads up. It's between Excalibur and Liran 2788 for the money. And we're going to see some poker. They've both got chip stacked with a little bit of room for manoeuvre here. Now, Liran has looked the more aggressive of these two. He's bluffed Excalibur a couple of times. We'll see if that continues into heads up. Liran betting this flop. Excalibur with bottom pair. And this is where poker gets a little bit sticky. You've got bottom pair, your head's up. You know you've got the best hand a lot of the time. Well, that makes it a lot easier. Decisions were going to get very difficult for Excalibur, but with 2 pair and it's an aggressive player, it's a whole lot easier. Not a great card for Liran, is it? He'll think that he's best most of the time here. But he does take a pot control line and check back the turn. Excalibur trying to work out what he can get paid. And you'd have thought Liran will call this. Yeah, he does. So a really nice turn card for Excalibur, not just because it made him a better hand, but also because it hit his opponent. And he takes a chip lead, almost a 2-1 chip lead. Well, this could be the final hand of the million. Liran, short stacked with ace-jack. He makes the 3-bet. It's up to Excalibur. Is he just going to go with this king-queen suited? Or, no, he's going to flat call. He does like to see a flop, doesn't he? We saw this when there were more players involved. Why wouldn't you see flops if you keep hitting them? That just seemed logical to me. Another amazing flop for Excalibur. Same way again. He hits his hand, but also Liran hits his. And in that situation, you win big pots. Don't see how Liran can possibly get away from this, or should get away from this. He puts his money in. Excalibur just has to call with top pair. And for a while, it looked like Liran was going to take this down, but in the heads up, everything's gone Excalibur's way. He just needs to hold through 2 more cards, and the Sunday million is his. 8 of spades changes nothing, and the 3 of spades puts the seal on a win for AexcaliburA from Malaysia. He is your Sunday million champion after a really violent final table. It was fun to watch. Massive congratulations to Excalibur. $152,000 for him. Big payouts to the top 5 confirmed here for you after that deal. Liran2788, special shout out to him, gave us a lot of entertainment. Really fun final table to watch. I hope you enjoyed it. There'll be another one along next week. Until then, for everyone at PokerStars.tv, I'm Nick Welathall. Take big care.